Today, we're talking about how businesses have only about 12 months, maybe 24 months to get AI right. A common belief right now is if you're using ChatGPT or Claude, you may be running a couple of experiments, maybe building an AI agent, that you're doing enough. I'm sorry to say, I think that most of those things are going to be insufficient. The problem is, AI isn't just a small upgrade, it's a structural shift that's going to fundamentally change how we build and operate businesses. My name is Joshua Ebner. I've been in the AI and data science industry for over 20 years, including at companies like Apple. And I'm seeing a clear gap form between the companies that are deeply integrating AI and those that aren't. So, in this video, I'm going to explain what I'm seeing most companies do, why those things probably aren't sufficient, why you probably have about 12, maybe 24 months to finally get this right, and what you should do to use AI in a way that helps you beat your competition. Let's start with the current landscape. So, I talk to a lot of executives, business leaders, and entrepreneurs, and I almost always ask them, are you using AI in your business? The answer is almost always yes right now. But then what I ask as a follow up question is, how are you using AI? And the most common things that I'm hearing are we're using copilots, we're using ChatGPT or a similar system, and we're experimenting with agents. Now, I want to be clear, all of those things are good and they're a good start, but there's a couple of issues with this. Number one, when I talk to these executives and business leaders, they are usually using ChatGPT and similar systems like Claude. They're using these large language models extensively themselves. But when you start digging in and asking, hey, are your employees using these things? They often get a little bit uncomfortable and they say, well, we're having a difficult time getting some of our employees to use this. Sometimes employees are a little bit afraid of it. They're afraid it's going to take their job. There's a lot of resistance. And a lot of employees simply don't know how to use these tools properly. So there's sort of a knowledge and skill gap here, which is slowing down usage of some very simple tools like large language models. A couple of other things that I'm seeing though is they're talking a lot about agents. Everyone wants AI agents in their business. But when you start asking them, well, why are you using an agent? What are you using it for? And it's usually kind of vague. And when you start really digging in and asking, okay, how is that agent going to drive your revenue? Or how is that agent going to drive profit? It's often quite a bit more tenuous. And almost inevitably, when I really dig in, what I find out is an AI agent might be able to connect to one of those key metrics like revenue or profit in some way. But from my perspective, there's almost always a better tool. So, for example, if someone needs to increase retention by decreasing churn, I'm probably not going to recommend an agent. I'll probably recommend a set of other AI tools, namely predictive tools and so on. If the issue is customer lifetime value, I am probably not going to recommend an AI agent. I'm going to recommend something else. So, one of the clear issues that I'm seeing is people are kind of starting with tools and techniques, especially the really cool, sexy stuff right now. And they're not thinking about what is our business problem and what is the best tool to solve that, whether it's an agent or something entirely different. By the way, if you want to know if your company is really ready to use AI, click the link in the description below. Go take my AI readiness assessment. It's 15 questions. It'll take you less than 3 minutes, and it will score you on three major areas that will tell you your AI readiness. Click on the link in the description and take the AI readiness assessment right now. Also, with respect to AI agents, I'm seeing a lot of companies experiment with them, but in many cases, these AI agents are really just glorified chatbots. This introduces all sorts of problems. Let me explain. A good agent should have a large language model at the core. It should have access to memory systems like databases, document stores, and so on. It should also have access to tools. So, a good AI agent is going to have a suite of tools and systems that it has access to. In many cases, the AI agents that are being built don't have all of those things, or they have them in some kind of small degree. The other issue here with many of these so-called agents is that they're not engineered in a way that makes them safe, secure, and reliable. So AI agents have a variety of different failure modes, and I would say a much broader set of failure modes than traditional software. This is just because of the way that AI agents work. The inputs are much more diverse. The potential outputs are much more diverse. If You give an agent access to large amounts of data, you give it high agency, there's a variety of security breaches that are possible. So these systems need to be engineered and tested properly by people that really know how to do this. And many guys that are selling and building agents kind of don't. And this, in the end, could create, I think, some very serious problems. So, all in all, what I'm seeing is skill gaps, misapplication, inappropriate or bad AI engineering, and that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg. The best companies, though, are approaching artificial intelligence in an entirely different way. So, let's talk about that. So, the companies that are getting this right, here's what I'm seeing. They're focusing on number one, a comprehensive AI strategy, and that includes a couple of other things. That includes getting their data right, getting the data foundations. Remember, almost every AI system requires data in one form or another. That is also true of things like an off the shelf large language model. Those systems often benefit from having access to document stores or databases with appropriate access permissions, by the way. But then everything else, if you're building a predictive AI system, an AI agent, and so on, in almost every case, you're going to need data sets in one form or another. So that's one of the first things is they're getting the data right. They're also getting good training for their people, not just how to use things like ChatGPT and large language models, how to write good prompts, how to do what we would now call context engineering, which is sort of like prompting plus adding documents and information and context and so on, how to leverage AI inside of workflows. All of this stuff can be included in some sort of training for frontline and mid level employees, all the way up to executives. It's also worth noting that people need to understand and probably need some education on what the major failure modes are because AI systems of all kinds have failure modes, and that is certainly true of large language models. That brings me to a slightly related point. The best companies are getting really good training for their leadership and also, in some cases, bringing on a chief AI officer, either full time or fractionally. Because AI is so different, it requires a knowledge base to understand what it can do, what it can't do. Like I said, what the failure modes are, how to use artificial intelligence to solve particular problems, how to choose the right use cases, how to build and run an AI project, and so on. This is different from traditional software engineering, and it's different from many of the core areas of business. If you're using AI for marketing, the marketing leaders are going to need to understand a lot more about how AI can affect marketing. And the same thing could be said for product and operations and finance and so on. So I think that getting really good training and leadership in place that is AI competent really distinguishes the best businesses. Moreover, the best companies are focusing on the engineering aspect. I kind of hinted at this a couple of minutes ago, but let me kind of explain a little bit more. AI systems need solid engineering, and AI engineering is different from traditional software engineering. The reason primarily is because traditional software is deterministic. You have an input and then it creates a output in sort of a deterministic way. So it's sort of a if-then system. But modern AI is probabilistic. It can accept a much wider range of inputs and create a much wider range of outputs. So the engineering of these systems, the testing, the security, everything is going to be slightly different. The best companies understand this and are getting solid training for their technical teams. They are bringing on reliable AI engineers and, as I said, AI leadership, and they're putting processes and systems in place for building out new AI projects in a way that maximizes the probability of success while mitigating all the new potential problems and risks. The best companies are also thinking more carefully about specific use cases, identifying key metrics, identifying specific business problems that they want to solve, and then prioritizing different potential AI projects based on the potential difficulty and the potential ROI. So, to kind of sum that up, the best companies are thinking about things in a much more strategic way, building the foundations with data and talent and training, all the way up through thinking about engineering and use cases. With all of that said, about what I'm seeing in the best companies that are using AI to the worst companies, I need to give a bit of a warning. Most companies that I'm seeing are experimenting and they're getting a few results here and there, but they are pulling ahead. And from my perspective, and not just mine, but some of the best people in the AI industry, people like Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, Aaron Levy, the CEO of Box, a variety of other people in the AI industry, what everyone is seeing that's really close to this, we're seeing that AI is going to generate enormous productivity gains. My guess is that at least 20 to 30% productivity gains, if not quite a bit more than that, in the companies that are using AI the best. And those companies are going to pull away. And once that productivity gap emerges, it's going to be extremely difficult to close. It's essentially going to create a sort of compounding loop where the companies that use AI the best are going to pull ahead. They'll be able to get more work done faster at higher quality and then be able to do that over and over and over again over time. And they will simply steamroll many of their competitors. And I don't think this is a someday problem, meaning someday way off in the future. My bet, if I had to guess, is that this is probably going to happen within the next 12 to 24 months. The real winners, the companies that really get this right and really figure it out, are going to emerge soon. So you need to get on this. You need to put a plan together. You need to develop a comprehensive AI strategy that includes your data readiness, training both for frontline employees, also training for your executives, maybe getting in a chief AI officer, identifying the right use cases, prioritizing those use cases, and so on. If there's one thing that I want you to take away, it's that experimenting with AI is different from deeply integrating AI into your business. Having said that, if you want to understand what it takes to build or rebuild a business around AI, including things like data, talent, leadership, use cases, and more, watch this next video. In the next video, I walk through how AI-first companies are structured, what they prioritize, the types of projects they invest in, something that I call the AI flywheel, and ultimately how AI-first businesses are going to massively outperform everyone else. You can check it out here, How to Build an AI-First Business.